who is going to run for the Senate seat being vacated by Senator Tom Harkin. One possible candidate and a guy who's pretty good at politics, Matt Whitaker, in the House today, live on The View.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
Let's get it started in here.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. That's 855-244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 4 minutes after the hour on this version of The View from a Pew. Welcome Army Brad in the house along with Father Tattoo. And look who's back. Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, goes down to San Antonio. Or Austin. Austin for a week to visit his new, well, she's not a new granddaughter. She's like a year old.
2 years, 8 months.
That's not new at all.
No.
She could be, collecting unemployment, according to Obama.
Really? That young?
Yeah, that young.
Oh, my goodness.
Nice to have you back. Did you have any trials or tribulations?
No, they just work me, connecting to washer, dryer, and TV, internet.
That's right, they moved.
Yeah, my one daughter, my oldest with the grandchild, moved.
Apartment to house or house to house? Or
Apartment.
Apartment to apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Nice area?
Nice area. Big pool, 2-bedroom, 2 full baths. Real nice place.
Oh, and I bet they use the pool year-round, don't they?
Well, you could.
I mean, was it open?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
open.
Then you can use it year-round.
You could.
You can, but the problem is for the people down there, they think the weather is like we have it here. So it's to them, it's cold. They'll be walking around in heavy coats and stuff like that.
Yeah, if it's 70, they won't be in the water.
That is
Wussies. All right, our special guest today is Matt Whitaker, and I tried to remember yesterday, you were formerly the who of the Southern District?
The who of... By the way, it was Harlem Shake. That was the dance I was trying to remember. That
Harlem Shake.
But anyway,
okay.
I was the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Iowa.
U.S. Attorney for the
U.S.
Southern
Attorney for the Southern District of Iowa.
And you tried the CTEC case.
I did.
Yeah, and you won.
We were successful, yes.
Is that what you say, is you were successful?
Yeah, I mean, nobody wins. Now that I'm on the other side in criminal defense, there's no winners in the system.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the prosecutors feel like they're doing justice, and but it's there's no winners.
What's the...
You successfully have, made somebody spend a lot of money and put them in jail. Prize goes to you, right?
What's the biggest surprise you've learned in switching sides?
Oh, on the criminal prosecution side, you feel like you're wearing the white hat and you're always doing justice. And it's a flawed system. The system is the best that humans can invent, but it's certainly not as good as divine justice. Okay. And it's human beings and trying to implement a system on other human beings.
If you don't want to talk about this, you don't have to. You just throw something at me. But I've always wondered, do defense attorneys take cases that they know they're guilty, but take them anyway, plead them not guilty, and then try to get them out of it?
No,
you hear on TV, they say, well, that's my job.
It doesn't, guilt is an interesting concept. It's what does the evidence show?
Right.
I mean, because, whether somebody did a prohibited act or not is sometimes kind of what the evidence shows. And sometimes there's not enough evidence. Sometimes there will never be enough evidence. And oftentimes there's overwhelming evidence.
Okay.
And so, I don't think, my clients, are certainly human beings, and some of them are flawed, and some of them have done bad things, but it doesn't make them bad people.
Right.
And at the same time, I was successful in November defending a gentleman in an arson and mail fraud case in federal court where the jury returned not guilty verdicts, where I don't think he did it. I thought he was innocent.
Okay.
And that's an overwhelming responsibility when you think somebody's wrongly
genuinely
accused.
Yeah.
Now there were, and the jury agreed. There were some what I would describe as kind of not good facts. But at the end of the day, I mean, there was not enough evidence that even put him at the scene, let alone sort of have the motive. I mean, it's all about motive and opportunity, and it goes, and it's never CSI type stuff,
right? Bob, for a living, is one of the forensic scientists at the DCI lab.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he does for a living. So it's always fun to have him come in and talk about, cases, obviously not by identifying them, but talk about some of the stuff with evidence and stuff.
Right.
How do I ask this? I want to be gentle.
You can ask me anything, Mac.
Well, when someone comes to you and says, I didn't do it,
yeah,
and at this point you believe them, just genuinely believe them,
mm-hmm.
and then you get so far down the road and you see the same evidence that everybody else does,
mm-hmm.
do you ever look at your client and say, listen, Jack, you did it?
Well, I mean, I think one of the
evidence overwhelmingly
one of the reasons people come to me is because I have prosecuted cases before, and it manifests in two ways. One is if they think they can tell their story and I believe it somehow that they have a good case,
okay,
because I'm a former prosecutor, and that. But second, I mean, I think they come to me because I can uniquely evaluate what the government is saying they did and what the evidence is against them, and give them an honest sort of, this is what I think. I mean, I've had clients that have pled guilty. That have I've worked through what the case is against him and told him what the risks and the options are. And I mean, it's sort of I think at some point in time you have to have that and come to Jesus.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's an honest assessment. This is what there is video evidence of you breaking into this house,
right?
And that is you, and those are your shoes, and that's and your fingerprints are on the door. I mean,
Isn't it true also that you can generally do better if you plea bargain?
Yes. There in the federal system, there's obviously a discount for pleaing. It's not as good as a true plea bargain. The federal government doesn't plea bargain the way the state does. So, I mean, yeah, could you get a lesser sentence by pleading guilty? Yes, but I would never recommend somebody that the evidence isn't strong enough against to plead guilty to something. Now, the real challenge that a lot of people face is Matt Whitaker doesn't come cheap. And I love it when people talk about themselves in the third person. I don't do that very often, but former
we'll
United
just call
States
you Bob Dole,
right? One of the few attorneys in Des Moines, Iowa, that's won a criminal trial on both sides of the courtroom, doesn't come cheap. And so, I mean, somebody, it's hard to kind of get the gold-plated defense, and that's one of the challenges in our criminal defense system. And I think our public defenders do a good job, but they're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if you can't afford a really good criminal defense lawyer, that limits your options and the attention to detail and the amount of kind of investigation that you can do of your defense and the interviews you can. I mean, there's just a lot of things going on.
All right, and I'm going to keep asking you questions, and you always can say I can't answer that.
I used to say that a lot when I was the federal prosecutor. Now I can talk about anything.
I remember you were on the air with me once, and you frustrated me because you couldn't answer any of the questions. So
that's and I it was just I believed that there were certain things I couldn't talk about. So
pick a case that my listeners would be familiar with here in Des Moines, because here's the question I want to ask: if everybody saw case A, everybody saw case B, they know about these cases if they read the paper and listen to the news. I'm just curious what your estimate is that they paid.
Oh my God,
their attorney for that defense.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe this case is too close for you to say, but the C-Tech case, you prosecuted that case,
right?
But the hours that her attorney, I can't remember what was his name?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, really.
Bill Cutmas.
Bill Cutmas, yeah, great attorney. Just an idea of what he would have been compensated for that, or just pick another case. I'm not trying to nail Bill. I mean, because I know, but I don't think most people know what it costs to get a good defense.
It's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
I mean, especially if you go to trial. I mean, it ends up just adding up. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Just the time alone to do the work.
Yeah.
And that's the toughest thing. When you're working for the government, you're getting paid whether you're busy or not busy, whether you're working hard or not working hard. And in the private practice, it's a profession, but it's also a small business. And I mean, sort of there's only a limited inventory of my time, and you need to be efficient with your time and make sure that you're collecting what you're working on.
Yeah, I always thought I was a Owen Marshall counselor at law guy. You're too young to probably remember that.
Was that black and white TV?
Yeah, that was black and white. All right. So, but anyway, pick any.
Or as my kids would say, was that before HD?
Yeah, pick Matlock, whatever.
Sure.
That's who I wanted to be. I went to law school thinking I was going to be Owen Marshall counselor at law.
Yeah.
And then I got offered a full-time job from the KIOA boys, and I gave my parents the proverbial, I promise I'll go back. I promise. And I never did.
You know what? You're lucky you didn't go back. Practice of law is not.
I don't think I would.
It's not what it looks like on TV.
Well, and I don't think I would have been a good lawyer because I'm not real smart. I don't study well. You know what I'm saying? I just don't. I get to about 3 pages of a contract, and I call George LaMarca and say, "Tell me what this says." George is my attorney. So
name dropper. Nobody take a step. A name has been dropped.
No, I just like Joe.
He's more expensive than I am, so
is he? Oh my gosh!
I would assume so.
I don't know.
He's got more experience. I mean, he's not the former United States attorney, but
I tell you what, though,
he's got his name over on the interstate.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you the reason the moment I knew that George would be my attorney for as long as he'd allow me, is I went over there one day just busting mad because I had caught somebody in something and I had the proof. Okay, and it was a slander case, and I caught him.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to George, and you could imagine, you know me for a long time. I just went on and on and on about how I got him and we're going to get him. And George leans back and says, "What are we going to get him for?" "Well, we're going to find him guilty." "How much is he going to pay you?" "Well, I don't know." "Well, there's no money there. Mm-hmm. I'm going to spend all these hours, and you and your wife are going to work for 5 years to pay off that bill. And all you're going to have at the end is, but he was guilty."
Right.
And that was the moment that I realized that's the kind of attorney I want.
It's an honest assessment, and there's been several times where where clients have come to me in similar situations where, yeah, you have a great claim. Are you willing to invest a lot of money in getting nothing back?
Yeah, and getting nothing back.
Right.
That's right. Now, I read an article the other day, probably in the Register, that they keep talking about how the African American population in Iowa is this percent, but the African American population in prison is this percent.
It's like over a quarter, wasn't it? 28, 29%.
In your humble opinion, isn't that just race baiting? I mean, do we really have a justice system that sees the color of his skin?
I don't think so. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. It's worth somebody thinking about. Is there a invisible hand at work here?
Yeah.
I mean, we all might walk around and say, "Well, we're not racist." Of course we're colorblind. The system's colorblind, but why? Then why? What's the explanation?
Because they commit more crimes than white people.
But why? Okay, but why?
Because more of them live in poverty. They're less educated. Their worldview is one of gimme, gimme, gimme. I'm entitled.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you can find poor whites, poor Asians, poor. I mean, pick your ethnic background. I mean, I think you can find similar circumstances. And I mean, I think the question. I saw Al Parrish was quoted in that. I think there's some interest. I mean, we don't have the answers. You and I can speculate, but statistically we don't have the answers, and that is incredible. The percent difference.
I agree,
and so I think it is a valid question, and I don't have the answers. And I don't think as prosecutors we certainly didn't go after. On the basis of race. In fact, I mean, we worked very hard to make sure that was not a fact.
After reading the article, the thing that hit my mind was, okay, so you're either saying that we have a corrupt, malicious prosecuting mindset, or African Americans commit more crime, right? There's nothing in between.
Well, if you think about how the system is employed, though, it's all a system of priorities, right? So if gun crimes are a priority or drug enforcement are a priority, then maybe you're going to catch people that are more involved in that instead of if you deployed your assets somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a good point. Former U.S. attorney for the Southern District of the United States and current defense attorney here in town, Matt Whitaker, is my guest, and maybe a senatorial candidate. We'll talk about that when we come back live on WebcastOneLive.com.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I am administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave, and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
We've got questions. You've got the answer. Join the conversation. It's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
21 minutes after the hour on webcastonelive.com. Coming up tomorrow, Brian Leach is in. We're going to cover John 11. And then on Friday, going to be a great show. Fridays are 15% more fun. Eric Volker, who is a pastor now, but he was a former Iowa State wrestling champion, and I'll just tell you, he's jumping up madder than heck about what the Olympic Committee is doing. So it's a perfect time. To bring in Eric to talk a little bit about the Olympic thing. Why are you putting the old election stuff up there? All right, we're not going to worry about that right now. All right, we're going to go to the phones where Tom is standing by.
There's always 2016, Mac.
Tom, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, how are you? Go ahead. You're talking to Matt Whitaker, former U.S. attorney in the Southern District and currently a defense attorney here in Iowa.
Yeah, I had a question about since the Defense of Marriage Act is still the law in the state of Iowa, can't a sheriff assess a fine against county reporters who issue gay marriage licenses?
Is this a question for me?
Yeah.
Here I was hoping we could talk about the death of Lazarus.
No, we can talk about him
John
later.
11. All right. DOMA, it boils down to the Attorney General of the state of Iowa said that the issuance of marriage licenses to same-sex couples is the law of the land, and we haven't had a sheriff bold enough or anybody do anything about that. Once Tom Miller said that was what we're going to do, everybody just fell in line.
Now, does Tom Miller make it so, or is he just a big enough voice that everybody's willing to lay down?
Well, he's the chief law enforcement officer in the state of Iowa.
But can the state override a federal
the
act?
state. Who is the state?
Well, state of Iowa.
Well, I mean,
can Tom Miller override the Defense of Marriage Act?
Well, he did. I mean, this is an interesting intellectual exercise as to how you would get this in court, and who would do it.
Okay.
Because I mean, the Supreme Court has said that the Iowa Constitution allows it. The Attorney General has backed up that decision with essentially guns. I mean, because what makes a law valid or invalid? It is the state's ability to, at gunpoint, enforce that law.
Okay,
and that's it's again, it's an interesting intellectual exercise. But right now, the law of the land, as interpreted by the Supreme Court and is enforced by the police, which is ultimately the Attorney General,
right?
Is that
Tom? Does that answer your question?
Not really, because the Supreme Court issued was an opinion, not a law.
Well, you know what? We have gone from the courts being the inferior branch to the superior branch in all things that are law. I know exactly what you're asking. I know exactly what your point of view is on this, but nobody has the temerity. Big, $5 word there for a lawyer to use,
which means cojones
to step into this and to tell anybody in power that they're wrong. And again, what is the real question is I think the governor is ultimately the executive branch leader, and the Attorney General to some extent, even though he's elected statewide as well, that the governor would ultimately have the executive branch power of enforcement. Okay, and so I mean, it's everybody just acquiesced.
What if I, as an individual, hired Matt Whitaker to file a lawsuit that says gay marriage is illegal because it goes against the Defense of Marriage Act? Silly, wouldn't take the case.
Well, as we were talking about in the earlier segment.
If you want to
invest the money in that,
this would be your pro bono for the year.
Oh no, I've already done my pro bono for the year.
Okay, well next year, pay it forward. No, I know what you're saying. So, all right,
yeah. It is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, and until somebody is willing to invest the time and effort, or we have an elected official that is willing to bring these arguments,
that's it.
And but again, where does it all end? Where's it in, Mac? I go to the court, right? We go to the court. We go to the state of Iowa courts. DOMA is still a law of the land. This is invalid. But, kind of, I don't want to blah, blah, or yada, yada, because these are important.
But I know what you're saying.
Intellectual points, but we go right back to the Supreme Court of Iowa, and you think they're going to say, oh, you know what? You know what, Mac? You're right. We hadn't thought about that argument.
Tom, any other questions? Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Thanks for calling. All right, go to line 262. Hi, you're live on The View from a Pew. Who's this?
That's Frank.
Hey, Frank, how are you?
Hey, good. Obviously, your guest asserted right that the color of justice in this country is green. But my question, my question basically relates to a couple of famous cases. The case of Mike Tyson's rape trial and the case of William Kennedy Smith's rape trial. Now, for most intents and purposes, I've seen basically both trials or the replay of that trials. I don't see a nickel's difference between the two.
The jury did.
But yet money seemed to buy one guy out of it, but money didn't buy the other guy out.
I don't know how to come at this, but
you don't have to say anything.
At the end of the day, if you don't believe in a 12-member jury to sort through creative lawyering and determine whether the case is proven beyond a reasonable doubt, the whole system fails.
Right.
And there's no better system. I will tell you, I've seen how the Russians do it. I've seen how other countries enforce the law and judge people's guilt and innocence. The Chinese have a pretty efficient system that probably money doesn't have as big an impact. And at the end of the day, you got to believe in citizens just like you and I sitting there determining what the facts and the evidence show.
Okay, I used to believe that until I interviewed Matthew Pierce a couple times. Do you know Matthew?
I do. Yes.
Rachel's. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you call what he does?
I don't know. Well, how would you I don't know how
he's hired by a defense attorney.
Right.
To go in and help the defense attorney pick the right jurors.
Yeah.
And he's
a jury consultant.
Yeah.
Is what we would call
it's
that.
not magical with fairy dust and how he reads the leaves.
Right. Well, it's human psychology is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And he says he can pick, and he's not bragging. He's a nice, humble guy. But he says most of the time he can properly pick jury members that will not find his client guilty.
That's a great marketing. I wish I could say that as a lawyer.
Well, that's what he says.
Well, I mean, and I will tell you, I mean, I have never, let me say never say never. I have not used a jury consultant to pick juries.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm old school but I understand sort of what, and I think a lot of things like that are overthought, and I'm sure he does a good job, and I may work with him in the future if I have a client that desires that. But picking a jury is probably the most fun of a trial. That and opening and closing arguments.
Okay.
And I mean, it's these are Iowans. These are people I grew up with, people people that are your neighbors, and you know what I mean. You can only categorize so many people. I mean, you still have to trust at the end of the day that they will take their assignment that the judge gives them and review the facts and determine how the law applies. I mean, I don't think it can be manipulated as much as you're telling me you were led to believe.
Matt Whitaker is our guest, former U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Iowa, now a defense attorney here in Iowa. We're going to talk about politics a little bit later. But there is more than, yes, I know the person, so I'm not qualified, A. B, I read all about it in the newspaper, I followed this case to the T, or C, I'm a journalist. I mean, I've been called for jury duty. All I have to do is say I'm a journalist and I'm excused.
Mm-hmm.
But there's got to be more than that. As you're
and I'll never
there,
be on a jury.
Yeah, but as you're sitting there picking people that are going to find your client innocent or guilty, it's got to be more than, do you know the guy? Did you read the news?
Well, I can't give you the secret sauce. I mean, this is what I charge lots of money for.
I know.
You're asking me to kind of show you what the Big Mac sauce is here.
I know. This is being watched by the Drake Law students today. So,
the biggest issue that I've had when picking a jury is sometimes your jury pool is just not very good.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I tried that film tax credit case a couple years ago. I mean, we had a juror that didn't. I don't know how they got the notice, but they were living in a car, and we had a couple of them that were excluded because they were felons. I mean, you're taking these people and that are randomly picked, and all of a sudden they're excluded. And I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's statistics and a little bit of psychology. But I mean, you just need reason and common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you need the pure human variable of reason and common sense, and it's trying to determine whether they can apply reason and common sense. And I mean, I guess if you're going to smoke and mirrors and razzle dazzle them in like the musical Chicago, which I don't think that's a really good defensive strategy,
right?
Then it's then maybe you want dumb jurors, but I don't know. I mean,
I've always wanted to be on a jury. I mean, I would love to be on a jury. One of my favorite movies is 12 Angry Men. But as soon as they find out who I am, I'm excused.
Right.
That's it.
Well, can't you qualify yourself as like an entrepreneur or something?
Sure.
Small business owner. People love small business owners.
Yeah, and in Des Moines, nobody knows this name or face.
No, you could grow a beard or cut a beard or shave your head. That's what I did. Nobody
wear a red
me
suit
anymore.
and they'll mistake you for Santa
Santa Claus. I know you were going to say that. Matt Whitaker is our guest, former U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Iowa. And we've been talking a little bit about what his love is. That your passion? Is your passion defense, or is it prosecuting, or have you reached it yet?
My passion is watercolors, Mac. I've never told anybody this before. No, there's the practice of law is my vocation, right? I practice law for a living. I've been doing it for almost 20 years now. I think I'm pretty good at it. But
your clients say you are, and so does your competitors.
Well, then reputation is a vessel that is hard to fill up and easily spilled.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
But
I've always said reputation is what people who don't like you are going to say about you.
Right. But I mean, I have a lot more interest than the practice of law. I mean, in fact, if you were to meet me on the street, I would not introduce myself as an attorney.
What, you'd introduce yourself as a watercolor painter?
No, I'm a small business owner, father
okay.
of 3. I have a lovely wife that is my more than equal and kicks my butt every day and tries to make me better.
Tough broad.
Yeah, no, she's not a broad. She is a lovely lady, and we've been together 20 years coming up here this summer. And I love to hunt and fish, and I love to I play ice hockey. I'm a captain a team.
Still throw around the football, I'm sure, after your wonderful days as a football player.
Yeah, I work out almost every morning, throw around heavy things. That makes me feel good.
Oh, maybe I could be your heavy thing you throw around.
Just looking at you makes my back hurt.
That I could say I work out too. Oh, where do you work out? Well, I'm Matt Whitaker's heavy thing that he throws around.
He's my dumbbell.
All right, that would fit better. There you go. Finally, a proper term for me. All right, Matt Whitaker's our guest. When we come back, politics. It's going to change everything in Iowa. No. It's going to change everything. Senator Tom Harkin, after, I don't know, him and Fred Flintstone were born at the same time, I think. He's stepping down. Who will be the Republican candidates that will primary? Who will be the Democratic candidates that will primary? We'll talk about that when we come back. Army Brad in the studio along with Bob Montserrat. Produced by Father Tattoo, and I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on WebcastOneLive.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
one's in the pew, not pulpit. Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
22 before the top, Salem Radio Network News, and then Michael Mudloff right here on KTIA 99.3. Don't forget, tomorrow, The Truth Project, 11:45 to 12:45 p.m. at Incredible Pizza, 86 in Douglas. If you don't eat, there's no cost. If you eat, then it's just the cost of the buffet or the pizza or whatever you order. We are in week 3, and the way that The Truth Project is assembled, if you miss a week, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really build. It takes different topics each week. And if you've never seen or participated in The Truth Project, I would encourage you to come to one of them. We're doing them every Thursday for the next 9 weeks, and then we'll probably start them over again. Focus on the Family did this segments on The Truth Project, and it's incredible. It will change the way you look at life, especially with a biblical worldview. So you're invited tomorrow, 11:45, 12:45, and then we sit around for about a half hour and chew the fat and talk about what we learned. So have you ever taken The Truth Project, Matt?
No, but I love buffets.
You should come. This is Dale Tackett.
Yes. I'm very familiar with it.
Are you? Okay. It's incredible.
You asked me if I had done it, not if I had heard it.
Oh, okay. So you're familiar with it.
Yes.
Why haven't you done it then?
I don't know.
Well, here you got a time you can do it. You can just.
I don't want to hear the truth.
Do you know what his time is worth?
It's lunch hour. So he doesn't get paid for lunch hour.
He probably doesn't take a lunch hour because he can make an extra few
Look
bucks.
at this boy. You're telling me he skips a meal?
I'm telling you, he probably eats while he's working.
It's all muscle.
Benjamin Franklin did it.
I have eaten at my desk before.
Yes, have you? Bob.
I've also billed time in the toilet.
Have you?
I won't tell you what I call that, but
toilet time.
Hey, if I'm reading something,
that's right.
It's billable hours.
That's right. Bob is an expert witness when it comes to alcohol.
Yeah,
and the crimes that are. And he just added up, and he's testified 1,000 times.
Can I ask him a question?
Sure.
Can we turn it around?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a police report say bloodshot and watery eyes?
Yes.
Have you ever seen every one of them say that in a drunk driving case?
Not every one of them.
Oh, my God. Every one I've ever seen had it. Bloodshot, watery eyes. So I've recommended to my clients to take a picture of their eyes as they're being pulled over.
There you go.
Yeah, it's all documented evidence.
I like that.
Unless they're bloodshot and watery, then and then don't take
it.
Delete that picture.
Of course, now you just told them to commit a crime.
How would they know, though?
That's
not that.
Well, after they're pulled over and it's turned off.
Yeah, they'd have to already be pulled over.
Well, I mean, I want them to comply with the laws. Come on now.
Now, do you advise your clients?
You just told me you build somebody in the toilet, which is exactly why I don't like to hire lawyers.
Do you advise your clients to refuse the breath test or the blood test?
No.
That's automatic 1-year suspension.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing people don't appreciate, and I know we're not here to talk about DUI laws, but people never appreciate, especially their first time, that the DOT process and the criminal process are two entirely different things.
One's administrative. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I could speak of that. But I won't. All right. Senator Tom Harkin, how long has he served? 40 years?
1982.
All right, so 30 years. 30 years.
Is that the math?
Last year. Yeah.
Ran out of fingers and toes.
Yeah, that makes
I'm
30.
a state school grad, remember.
Because he was a congressman, too.
Government
right,
school.
He
was a congressman before that.
Before he was a senator.
Yeah.
He was senator.
He's finally stepping down, and there's rumors abound about who's gonna file and run on both tickets. Are you going to run?
I was going to say, Matt, you have an announcement, right?
No,
I don't have. I told Mac last week I don't have an announcement. I think we have to wait till it sorts out.
Okay.
I mean, if Tom Latham or Steve King runs for the U.S. Senate, I do not foresee myself primarying those guys.
Well, do you think they'll primary themselves?
I don't know. I think that's the fun parlor game right now in Republican politics.
I can't imagine Steve King or Tom Latham either, and I've had them both on my shows multiple times. I don't know them greatly, but we've talked before.
Yeah.
I can't imagine their backers willing to fund two Republicans who are going to primary each other and then refund against the Democratic nominee for the Senate seat.
Do you think their funders are the same people, though? And are the interests that back them both the same? Now I know you have a small kind of the money community in the metro are probably backing both of them, but I see their backers and supporters as a little different.
Do you? All right, tell me how.
Well, I mean, anecdotally, I think Steve King is much more seen as a right of center candidate. I think Tom Latham takes good votes, but I think is a little more viewed as a business friendly candidate. I mean, they're both guys I know well and respect and like a lot, but I just think they have different supporters and interests that support them.
Does Latham have a broader source of support because he's statewide, where King is really a district?
Oh no, I mean I think I can't remember the math, but both of them have represented over 50% of the state at one time or another in their congressional.
I've had people
career.
in your chair tell me that King would not do well in the eastern part of Iowa, but Latham would.
Well, nobody knows Tom Latham in the eastern part of Iowa except up far north east Iowa. Yeah. I don't think he ever represented Dubuque, but he was up in Allamakee and up in that neck of the woods. And you know, I think it would be a fun primary if those two win at it. I think it would be very risky for both of them.
Because tell me the law. Do they have to give up their seat when they primary, or only after they win the nomination?
No, because they'd both be in they would not then be in the congressional primary, and so they would have declared for the Senate primary, and then somebody else would have the opportunity to get into the congressional primary.
Because Braley has now given up his seat, basically.
I mean, he could always say, Joe, I was kidding, and file papers. It all depends where they file papers and the deadlines for filing papers and committees and all that technical lawyer stuff that I love so much.
All right, do you see anybody else on the right besides Latham and King and maybe yourself?
I mean, it's the who's who of Iowa politics. I mean, you have all the elected state. Well, Bill Northey is a compelling candidate. He's been elected statewide. He's a great guy. Ag folks like him a lot. Matt Schultz, elected statewide. Another good friend of mine and a guy that I've known for several years. He's a lawyer. I'm sure everybody knows that. Dave Vout. I don't think Dave would do it, but Dave's a great candidate. I campaigned with him when I ran for state treasurer unsuccessfully, and Dave was successful in that election for auditor. Dave's a great guy.
Yeah, he's
done
a
wonderful job as an auditor. Branstad said he's not doing it. Kim Reynolds would be formidable with the Branstad.
That's the
backing.
name I like, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I think and we need obviously we need more females involved in the Republican Party as candidates. I think Brenna was a great attorney general candidate. She raised a lot of money for whatever reason, was unsuccessful. She's doing a great job for Governor Branstad now. So, I mean, I think Kim would be wonderful. You got my law partner, Chris Hagen. I don't think he'd ever do it, but Chris, is the majority whip in the state house. He'd be a great candidate. Obviously Paulson and Upmeyer would be great. I mean, you just got all sorts of people. I think Jack Whitver, quite frankly. I love Jack Whitver from up in Ankeny. Even though he's a Cyclone. Jack's a cool guy.
Well, the sleeper. I mean, the guy that if he enters the race could really upset the whole thing would be Narcissus.
Upset like stomach upset? Or
I'm friends with Jonathan, so he allows me to bring his name
I know
up.
him. And
he's on Katie Couric tomorrow morning.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Is he going to talk about his umbrella? Not umbrella. His
balloon.
Balloon, right?
Yeah.
And then Matt Strawn, former state party chair, would be good. I think you have Brad Zahn. I mean, the list is endless, and it really, at the end of the day, it's kind of I've run statewide, and I know the price it takes to do that. The question is, do you really want to pay that price? But if for some reason King and Latham don't run, it is going to be wide open. I bet I bet you'll have a ton of people running, and then it's kind of who can line up some of the national interests, who's Club for Growth support, who does some of those other national interests that write checks support, and the like. So it would be interesting. And then if Steve or Tom or both run, then those congressional seats all of a sudden become open, and Polk County's got a lot of people that would probably look at that closely.
Okay, that's the Republican side via Mac Whitaker. What's the Democratic side look like? We'll talk about that when we come back. Live here on WebcastOneLive.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
We've got questions. You've got the answer. Join the conversation. It's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
10 before the top, Salem Radio Network News. And then, of course, Pastor Michael Mudloff with True Blue here on 99.3 KTIA. Tomorrow, Brian Leach is in, and we're going to discuss John 11. Just so you can read ahead, and we're going to unpack that for a while. And Friday, Eric Volker, former Iowa State standout wrestler, now a pastor here in town. I think it's a great coincidence that I had him booked weeks ago before the Olympic wrestling thing came down. But I'm sure Eric's going to have some comments about that tomorrow. You're an athlete. What do you think about them dropping wrestling?
I think it's sad. I love wrestling.
It's a travesty.
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Well, to make more room for synchronized rhythmic
Swimming.
gymnastics or something. I don't know.
I've heard that they're trying to get...
Is table tennis still going to be there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I've heard they're
heavens.
trying to get rid of anything where there's human contact. Where anybody
But
could
they're
get
bringing
hurt.
in rugby. Rugby's
Yeah.
probably more...
Did you
human-
watch the sevens over the weekend?
No.
Oh, the United States sevens, which is 7 men on a side rugby tournament. And I had actually spring break 20 years ago in law school. I went to Hong Kong and saw the sevens there. And it's just, rugby's just a fascinating sport to me.
I don't know.
I mean, every time I think I was tough playing football.
Watch rugby.
Yeah, watch rugby. They do it without
They do
helmets.
the same thing without pads.
It's crazy, man. They crunch each other. Oh, it's wild. I
step on each other's faces
absolutely
with cleats.
I watched it. It was broadcast. The finals were broadcast. I think on Sunday.
Yeah, I tried to watch it. I didn't get it. I don't understand. Right? I'm just like, that just looks brutal.
It looks like a game of fumbleitis. Remember, you used to.
Yeah,
you have to.
Yeah. All right, Matt Whitaker is in the house. He's a former U.S. attorney in the southern part of the United States, now a defense attorney.
Southern
here
part
in
of Iowa. Don't
State
give me
of
the whole
Iowa.
country.
What did I say? United States?
Yeah.
Southern Iowa. Sorry.
You've said that
Is he
several
also a
times.
pastor?
Yeah.
Are you also a pastor?
No.
Oh.
No.
Just thought.
Good Christian man, but not a pastor.
Right.
We talked about the Republican side.
Although I always fall short, and I'm a sinner.
Well, me too. I'm
all
the
are.
president of the Not a Good Enough Christian Club.
Right.
I mean, it's on Facebook. You can join.
Well, all I can say is thank God for Jesus.
That's right. No kidding. All right. So we talked about the Republican side, Democratic side.
Yeah.
Start with Vilsack.
Well, and I mentioned, Sukup, Vanderplatz, and I'm sure there's other people I forgot. There's
Steve Dace. We forgot Steve Dace. He
Steve
might
would be
run.
lovely.
Yeah, he might run.
Yeah.
So
On the Democrat side, I think it's just the big dogs. I mean, you got Braley's already in, so that's
Right.
going to clear the field, except for only a couple people. Vilsack.
Right. Which one, Mr. or Mrs.?
I think Mr.
Okay.
Mrs. having lost to Steve King, I don't think there's a narrative to be told that she should run for statewide. And I like Vilsack. I mean, I don't like Vilsack, but from that side, I think a Vilsack Braley would be wonderful.
Primary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Vilsack's going to win that.
I think an interesting candidate. I'll start the rumors right now. Is the president of DMAC. He ran for Congress when he was down in Florida, and I can't remember his name now. But I don't know if he's making moves, but he'd be an interesting candidate. And there was one other. Why am I'm missing somebody that's Culver. I mean, I think Chet, if he's not going to run for governor, which I think that's the interesting thing is, there is a governor's race going on at the same time in 2014.
Right.
And so are they going to give Branstad a pass? I mean, is Culver, who's running against Branstad? Because Braley was the one everybody was talking about, and now all of a sudden he's not.
Vilsack wouldn't. He's not going to go back to being governor.
We've had it happen before in the state of Iowa.
Right, but Branstad was a successful governor. Most people would tell you Culver wasn't.
Right. That's why he got beat by Branstad.
Right.
Were you thinking of Rob Denson?
Yes.
Okay.
But what about? Let's talk about Culver for a moment, because from where I see, and I'm not a political expert by any means, I'm just a talking head on the radio.
Sure.
But I see Culver washed up, done. He will never be elected to anything other than dog catcher.
I think politics, and in Iowa, there's a lot of you could reinvent yourself.
Okay.
He could reappear easily.
Okay. All right.
I mean, they gotta have who else is going to run against Branstad? I mean, there has to be somebody.
Well, and you got 2 congressional seats that they.
Yeah, exactly. Pat Murphy just announced he's running for, and then you got to field wherever if it's King or Latham, you're gonna have to field candidates there. I mean, it's going to be interesting in the strategy of how Democrats cover all these races, and I think that's going to give some of those statewide. That's why like a Vought or a Northey or a Matt Schultz some pause is to think, maybe I should just stay where I am because the challenge isn't going to be as hard as it may have been since everybody's going to be elevating up.
All right, well, so if everybody's focused on congressional and the senatorial race, and those where the big dogs are, how about somebody like Matt McCoy stepping up to run against the governor? No chance he'd win, but what a platform to get known statewide.
I think Matt would be a good candidate. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. I think anybody with a Democrat, a D behind their name, and the backing of their machine that just rolled Romney in Iowa, I wouldn't bet for it, but I certainly wouldn't say there's no chance.
Okay.
But we don't know what we're going to face in 2014.
How about Gronstal?
I don't think he wants it.
Okay.
You don't think
he wants governor?
I don't think so.
Really?
He's pretty powerful right now.
I agree.
He's got a lot of power right now. I don't know. I don't know if he's, again, you got to be willing to pay the price. Are you willing to travel the state and take the positions you have to take? And I just don't know.
So who can beat Branstad?
On the left?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can beat Terry Branstad.
Yeah.
I want to be on the record. I mean, I think Tom Miller is unbeatable. I think Terry Branstad's unbeatable. And
you mean
I think
Miller as Attorney General?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think Chuck Grassley's unbeatable. I mean, I just think there's in Iowa, for whatever reason, we return politicians that are doing a good job. And I mean, Iowans think those 3 for sure are doing a good job.
Did somebody in the Harkin camp think that maybe he was beatable this year, and that's why he stepped down? Is he vulnerable?
I don't know. He's always won in the 50s. Never Chuck Grassley victory lap 60, 70% in every county. But I would guess he just felt it was time. I mean, kind of like the Pope just retired. I think Harkin just decided the time was now.
So, he's taken enough out of the Iowa coffers. It's time to step aside. So what I hear you saying is that if it's not Latham or King, then it will be Whitaker.
I certainly wouldn't forestall that.
Matt, you're
another $5 word.
You're a good guy. Matt Whitaker has been our guest. He is the former U.S. attorney in the southern part of the great state of Iowa, former Ankeny football standout, and then Iowa Hawkeyes, and now a very successful defense attorney. So if you get in trouble, you know who to call. Matt Whitaker. He's looking for a pro bono case as we speak. Bob Montserrat, nice to have you back. Army Brad, thank you. We won't see you tomorrow. We'll see you on Friday.
Yeah, thanks for the tough questions, guys.
Yeah, Father Tattoo. Really? I thought we were throwing softballs all day. And tomorrow is Brian Leach as we study John 11. And until then, I just ask you to do one thing. Please, just one. Only one. Pray.